So for the bonus task, we write the module, a small module, to return the probability that the transaction will be a fraud one. So let's take a transaction example like this. It has customer ID, age, gender, zip, and so on, so on. And I think all of these uh, properties are independent data. They don't depend on each other. So we're gonna take all of them, even though I check in the Excel file. Um, this customer has an age of two, has only a age of two, and only male, and at the zip code only. But I think in real life, this number will change. Like if this customer move into a different zip code, will have different probabilities, and or this next year, this customer will be 3 years old. Will be like it has different probability. So I think um, even though one customer only has one age, one zip code, and one gender, I think all the data should contribute to the whole thing. So I take all of them and make them independent, and they are independent data. So I will take the probabilities of all each of them and multiply each other. So the first, uh, when I first did this, I came up with a brute force approach. So and it took me more 4 minutes to execute the test, because what I did is use filter function from the stream APIs, and for each probability to calculate a probability, and because I use like 16 filters, and filters has the runtime O of n, and so like each filter run through all the Excel file and then done, and then the next filter will run through all the Excel file, and then and so on. It took me way too long, 4 minutes, to run the test successfully. So I had to come up with a different approach. And after googling, after done doing some Google, I found that like we have for Java, they have another um, API called Parallel Stream instead of Stream only to make. Uh, so Parallel Stream will allow tasks to run simultaneously, so to reduce the runtime. However, uh, I found that it is really complicated to implement the parallel streams. And as of right now, uh, Oracle doesn't allow us to specify which thread to run the task on, because right now all the tasks will run all in one common. It's called common foot join thread. So right now all the tasks run on that thread, and if one task is much slower or idle, that task will block other tasks behind it and may jam the whole application. So it's not. I found that it's not a good idea to use parallel stream. So I had to come up with another way. And after like doing some brainstorming and researching, I came up with a different approach. So my approach is I create two maps, all transaction map and fraud transaction map, and I only need to iterate once through all the transaction, and I check if the all transaction map has the key that match the customer ID. I will increment once for the value, and I also test one more. If the transaction is fraud, I will increase the value in the fraud transaction map, and I do the same thing for other properties, age, gender, and so on. I didn't do it for range amount because um, I want to divide the range amount, uh, the amount into range, because to me, 39.39 is not much of a difference from $39.20. They just too small to account for. So I divided by 10. So let's say like from 10 group, let's say like 0 to 9, 10 to 19, 9, 20 to 29, and I calculate the probabilities of each group. Uh, and yeah, and then I multiply with the probability of the other properties. Yeah. So this is just for the output. It's easier to see. And right here, yeah, you can see I iterate through the map, and I add all the probabilities into the probability list. And I also don't forget to add the p amount in here. And then once again, I iterate through the list, and I check if the probability is 0. I ignore it, because if it's 0, that's the whole thing. If one probability is 0, then the whole thing will be 0. So ignore it, and then I just get the result by keep multiplying by the probability of in the list right here. So for the test, um, run. Okay, so as you can see, it takes me only 11 seconds now to run the test. But before that, it took me it actually took me 4 minutes 20 seconds just to run the test using the futures method. So yes. Um, so right here, what I did for unit test is I also utilized a pivot table. As you can see, like let's say for this, I I manually calculate the probability of each one of them right here and multiply to get the expected value. So the way I do it is for h of 3, as you can see, h of 3 right here, I have 73673 fraud transaction over 147131. You can print it out right here. So for h of 3, it has 147131 transaction in total, 147131 transaction in total, and 73673 fraud transaction. So I calculate the probability like that, and I multiply all of them together to get this right here, result right here. So yeah, that's all. And I just want to run the whole thing again to make sure like all my tasks passed. Run. Right. One test passed, two pass, three pass. All right, that's it. Thank you for listening.